Imagine receiving a letter that materializes out of thin air, in your locked room, written by someone thousands of miles away, someone who claims to read your thoughts. For decades in the late 1800s, this impossible phenomenon was happening across British India. It centered around one of history's most controversial women, Helena Blavatsky. These mysterious letters were supposedly written by enlightened beings living in hidden Tibetan monasteries. They sparked the greatest occult scandal of the Victorian era. In 1885, investigators declared the entire affair an elaborate fraud. They branded Blavatsky one of history's most accomplished impostors. Her reputation was destroyed, her followers scattered. The case seemed permanently closed. But exactly 100 years later, something changed everything. A forensic expert made a shocking discovery. Using modern scientific techniques unavailable to Victorian investigators, he proved what believers had claimed all along. The letters were not forgeries. If Helena Blavatsky didn't write them, then who did? And how did they appear in impossible circumstances? Circumstances that defied every law of physics. This is the story of the Mahatma Letters, the greatest unsolved mystery in the history of human consciousness. Hidden in the British Library are over 400 extraordinary documents. They represent either the most sophisticated deception in recorded history or genuine communications from advanced human beings. These are the Mahatma Letters, messages allegedly sent by spiritual teachers living in remote Tibetan regions, teachers who claim to possess abilities that transcend ordinary human limitations. The story begins in the 1870s British India. Helena Blavatsky, a Russian aristocrat with remarkable psychic abilities, claimed to be in contact with these mysterious figures. She called them the masters of ancient wisdom. Unlike the spirits that mediums claim to channel, these were living people, extraordinary individuals who had achieved advanced levels of human development. They lived in hidden schools throughout the Himalayas. Two figures dominated this extraordinary correspondence. The first was known simply as M, or Master Morya. Witnesses described him as a commanding presence with penetrating dark eyes, a man whose very being radiated ancient authority. The second was KH, or Koot. He appeared as a refined scholar with flowing brown hair, a being of ethereal wisdom who seemed to move between worlds. But here's where the story becomes truly mysterious. How did letters from these remote figures reach people thousands of miles away? Witnesses reported the most incredible phenomena. Letters would appear inside locked rooms. They'd materialize during meetings where no one could have entered. Some were found in luggage that had been thoroughly searched moments before. People saw turbaned messengers deliver correspondence at night. These figures would vanish when followed. Others described letters falling from empty space, written responses to thoughts that had never been spoken aloud. The main recipient of these impossible letters was Alfred Sinnett, a respected newspaper editor in India. Sinnett was no gullible believer. He was a sharp journalist who approached everything with professional skepticism. Yet over several years he received dozens of letters that demonstrated incredible knowledge spanning science, philosophy, religion, and subjects that wouldn't be understood for decades. These communications painted a picture of reality that was revolutionary for its time. They described humanity's spiritual evolution through vast cycles of time. They spoke of advanced civilizations that existed long before recorded history. They outlined a secret brotherhood of evolved humans, beings who had guided human development from behind the scenes throughout history. The letters contained detailed explanations of natural laws that Western science wouldn't recognize for many decades. They discussed the fundamental unity of all matter and energy. They described invisible states of matter beyond the physical world. They proposed that consciousness itself might be the primary reality from which everything else emerges. These concepts were mind-blowing in the 1880s. They would later find striking parallels in quantum physics and consciousness research. The correspondence revealed something else remarkable: the true purpose behind the Theosophical Society that Blavatsky had helped create. According to the letters, this wasn't meant to be just another religious movement. It was an experiment, a test to see if universal brotherhood could actually work, brotherhood that transcended race, religion, and social status. Then came 1884, the year everything changed. The biggest scandal of the 19th century occult world erupted. Emma Coulomb had worked as housekeeper at the Theosophical Society's headquarters in India. She was someone Blavatsky had trusted completely, someone who had access to her private rooms. But Coulomb made shocking accusations. She claimed the miraculous phenomena were complete fraud. She said she had helped Blavatsky create fake letters, helped stage bogus supernatural events using hidden panels and mechanical tricks. These accusations reached Christian missionaries in the area. They were delighted to have ammunition against the growing influence of Eastern spirituality. The story exploded across India. Then it reached Europe and America. Headlines screamed fraud and deception. The press treated it like a feeding frenzy. The scandal coincided with an investigation by the Society for Psychical Research in London. This was a respected organization dedicated to studying paranormal claims scientifically. They sent a young researcher named Richard Hodgson to India. His job was to investigate everything surrounding Blavatsky and her phenomena. What followed would destroy Blavatsky's reputation for the next century. The Hodgson report, published in 1885, was absolutely devastating. Hodgson declared Blavatsky as one of the most accomplished, ingenious, and interesting impostors in history. He claimed she had written the letters herself using disguised handwriting. He said all the supernatural phenomena were staged using accomplices and mechanical devices. He concluded the whole affair was an elaborate con designed to establish a religious movement with Blavatsky as its leader. The report destroyed her overnight. Leading members of the Theosophical Society resigned in disgust. Newspapers across the world branded her a charlatan and fraud. The woman who claimed to be a humble messenger of enlightened beings was now seen as a scheming impostor. She had allegedly deceived thousands of sincere spiritual seekers. For exactly 100 years, the Hodgson report stood as the final word. Generation after generation of scholars and skeptics pointed to it as definitive proof. The case seemed permanently closed, the mystery solved, the legend debunked. But then 1986 arrived, and with it, a discovery that would turn everything upside down. Vernon Harrison was a forensic expert. He had 50 years of experience detecting forgery and counterfeiting. He had testified in countless legal cases involving fake documents. Harrison wasn't a theosophist. He had no investment in proving Blavatsky's innocence. He was simply a scientist curious about whether the 1885 investigation had been thorough enough. What Harrison discovered was shocking. The Hodgson report was deeply flawed. Harrison called it a highly partisan document forfeiting all claim to scientific impartiality. He found that Hodgson had cherry-picked evidence. He had relied on unverified testimony from unnamed witnesses. He had drawn sweeping conclusions based on inadequate analysis. But Harrison's most devastating finding concerned the letters themselves. Using advanced forensic techniques unavailable in the 1880s, Harrison analyzed the handwriting in detail. He examined pressure patterns, letter formations, writing rhythms across hundreds of documents. His conclusion was crystal clear. There was absolutely no evidence that the letters had been written by Blavatsky. Harrison found evidence of multiple authors whose writing styles were completely different from Blavatsky's normal handwriting. The forensic proof was undeniable. These letters had not been forged by Helena Blavatsky. This vindication came too late for Blavatsky herself. She had died in 1891, with her reputation in ruins. But Harrison's analysis reopened one of the most fascinating mysteries in human history. If the letters weren't forgeries, if Blavatsky didn't write them, then what was their source? The content of the letters themselves provides intriguing clues. They demonstrate knowledge that spans multiple fields of learning: ancient literature, Eastern philosophy, Western science, contemporary theories that were cutting edge for their time. The author showed intimate familiarity with obscure texts and traditions that were virtually unknown in the West during the 1880s. They discussed advanced concepts in physics and astronomy, concepts that wouldn't be formally developed for decades. Perhaps most remarkably, the letters show a profound understanding of human psychology and spiritual development. They read like they were written by someone with genuine experience of expanded states of consciousness, someone who understood the challenges facing serious students of inner development. The philosophical content of these letters has had enormous impact on Western spiritual thought. They introduced concepts that became foundational to modern alternative spirituality. The idea of spiritual evolution through multiple lifetimes, the existence of subtle energy fields beyond the physical body, the possibility of direct psychic communication across vast distances, the conviction that consciousness itself might be the fundamental reality underlying all existence. The mystery deepens when we consider how the letters were received. Multiple independent witnesses testified to their impossible arrival. Sinnett himself described letters appearing in rooms that had been thoroughly searched. Letters written in direct response to mental questions that had never been spoken. Other recipients reported similar experiences across different locations and time periods. Modern research into consciousness has revealed phenomena that make the letters seem less impossible. Studies at respected institutions have documented abilities that parallel those claimed by the letter writers. Remote viewing, telepathic communication, psychokinetic effects. The emerging understanding of consciousness as a fundamental feature of reality opens new possibilities for explaining seemingly miraculous phenomena. The letters themselves anticipated scientific skepticism. They predicted that Western science would eventually be forced to acknowledge consciousness as a primary factor in physical phenomena. This prediction seems increasingly accurate given developments in quantum mechanics and consciousness research. The ethical content of the letters deserves special attention. Throughout the correspondence, the writers emphasize universal brotherhood as both spiritual ideal and practical necessity. They warn that unless humanity learns to transcend divisions of race, religion, and nationality, we face potential self-destruction. These warnings, written in the 1880s, seem prophetic in our age of global interconnectedness and technological power. The influence of these letters extends far beyond their original context. They inspired generations of seekers to look beyond conventional religion. They encouraged a more universal and scientific approach to spirituality. Concepts introduced in the letters can be traced through countless spiritual movements that have shaped modern thought. Perhaps most significantly, the letters present a model of spiritual authority based on wisdom and compassion rather than institutional power. The writers consistently refuse to be treated as infallible beings. They emphasize their role as fellow human beings who have simply progressed further along a path that all must eventually follow. The mystery of the letters remains unsolved today. Harrison's forensic analysis eliminated simple forgery as an explanation, but questions remain about their ultimate source and significance. Were they genuine communications from advanced individuals living in Himalayan retreats? Were they produced through some form of psychic phenomenon that transcends our current understanding? Or do they represent some other possibility we haven't yet considered? What cannot be disputed is their profound impact on human consciousness and spiritual development. Regardless of their source, the letters contain wisdom that has inspired millions. They present a vision of human potential that challenges us to transcend our limitations. They remind us of possibilities we might not have imagined. As we face the challenges of the 21st century, the teachings in these extraordinary documents seem more relevant than ever. They remind us that genuine spiritual development isn't about personal gain or supernatural powers. It's about establishing universal brotherhood based on recognition of our fundamental unity. In a world torn by division and conflict, this message offers both hope and practical guidance. The mystery may never be definitively solved. But perhaps that's appropriate. Some truths are too profound to be captured by conventional proof. They speak to something deeper in human nature, a longing for meaning and connection that transcends the material world while remaining grounded within it. The ultimate significance of these letters lies not in proving their supernatural origin, It lies in their capacity to awaken us to possibilities we hadn't considered. They suggest that human beings possess far greater potential than commonly recognized. They hint that consciousness itself may be far more fundamental and mysterious than current science acknowledges. They propose that universal brotherhood may be not merely an idealistic dream, but a practical necessity for our survival and continued evolution. The greatest occult mystery of the 19th century continues to unfold in our own time. It challenges us to expand our understanding of what it means to be human and what we might yet become